said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water.
And I live like a man who's dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Truth virus. Truth virus. Truth virus. Truth virus.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This DJ from Truth Virus coming to y'all today just to try to enlighten you guys some more about how this crazy world we live in is matrix that a lot of people are caught into. Let's start this boy off like I normally do, showing you guys the chakras, because this play a very important role in the life we live and how these guys stay in control. They use your lower three chakras to manipulate the reality that we live in, and the reasons why they use these lower three mainly is because it keeps you out of your heart, the love, this green, the same color as Mother Earth, Mother Nature, you know, the soul of Gaia, whatever you want to call it. Once you get in here, this is like the gates of heaven to move you upward. So you can say symbolically, this would be heaven, this is hell, here's the gate and the gatekeeper. That gatekeeper will be what we would call the, you know, Jesus or Buddha, you know, whatever you want to call those figures that try to keep us, you know, in the light of love, to live a peaceful life, you know, living a more heavenly life. Because in those stories, it you know, it's basically to you know, get you guys in a mind frame that what goes around comes around for the most part. Like, life is going to have its ups and downs, period. But when you do negative things, negative stuff comes your way. When you do positive things come your way. So I just want to, you know, touch on that. But what they use is power, sexuality, and survival. And once again, like I said, they use these to keep you out of love, for one, because once you get into love, you break, you know, those walls down, those barriers down that they, you know, confine us in using media, tradition, religion, you know, through fear, sexuality, power, you know, through death, lust and greed, you know, money, power, and survival. How, you know, however you want to word it, you know, whatever. But I wanted to touch on that because, you know, it's very important. You know, on what's going on right now, with all this crap that's going on TV, how they, you know, keep us fearing, you know, the ISIS and you know, the autumn regimes, you know, the boogeyman's, you know, the jihadi Johnnies and all that, you know, all this BS that's out here, the Paris attacks, you know, all this hoax, false flag shit. And another reason why they, you know, why they use this is, you know, these lower threes, because these are the three that they've mastered. They know, you know, they know how to harness the energies from this. You know, they siphon off your energy from these lower three, mainly, once again, to keep you out of love, and also because that's how, you know, they and their partners, their, you know, those they commingle with, that we can't see, the, you know, the ETs, the extraterrestrials, or, you know, call it what you want to call it, you know, the demons, you know, whatever, you know, you want to call them. They survive off of the energies that, you know, that we put off from these lower three. Now, I was speaking on, you know, how they survive off of our energy. Now, mind you, we are living organisms, and we eat living organisms. That's why we got to keep our food fresh. You know, that's why we refrigerate things, or, you know, preserve things, you know, so the life in it can keep us alive. And I want to show you this little, you know, this picture right here showing, you know, living organisms eating other living organisms to survive. As you can, you know, look through and you see, you know, a mouse eaten by the hawk, and, you know, a squirrel eaten by the hawk, and a rabbit's eaten by the hawk. But, you know, the rabbit eats the scrubs, you know, the shrubs and the mushrooms and the grass and the caterpillar, you know, and so on and so on. It's the cycle of life, you know. That pyramid, yeah, the food pyramid. I want to show you guys that to show you, you know, to show you this. It's the same concept. I know it might be over y'all head, but it's the same thing. You know, the animals eat lower organisms. We eat the animals, which what we would consider lower organisms, and they, you know, feed off of us, which they consider lower organisms. They don't, you know, they don't see anything wrong with it. The same way we don't see anything wrong with eating animals, the same way animals don't see anything wrong with eating plants. It's, you know, it's just a cycle. But the problem is the humans that are in control, that, you know, it's keeping this going, you know, without us knowing, you know, with all this deception and, you know, these half truths, you know, so they can stay in power and control, so, you know, so they can continue to rule us in those fashions. Now here's a picture that shows the energy that we give off, that you know, I know for a fact that they feed off of and they use to control us, you know, because when you're in these lower energies, you know, the rage, the fear, the lust, the envy, depression, you know, not only do they feed off those energies, but we ourselves do not function properly when we are, you know, in those lower 3 chakras. You know, we don't think with our heart, you know, from a loving, compassionate standpoint. So when they say, oh, Al-Qaeda bombed, you know, some damn buildings and killed a kajillion people, first thing we think of is revenge out of, you know, rage and anger. You know, we don't think logically. Well, you know, how do we know it was Al-Qaeda? You know, just simple stuff. I just want to show you guys, like, the energy that our body gives off, like anger shows, you know, it's a lot of energy given off in the head. But, you know, pay attention to the hands, you know, like you're ready to fight. You know, this is an imbalance. You see all this red and it's black everywhere else. And the fear, you know, when your heart get to pounding when you're scared, you know, and everything else is black, you know, and red around it. Disgust is in your throat, you know, when you, yeah, I guess, you know, when whatever feeling you get when you in disgust. Now, happiness, look at the balance in happiness. Look how the head is so bright and the heart is also, you know, a bright color, and a red, you know, it's red everywhere, it's balanced. And then you go right to sadness, you got this fucking blue, this fucking death, you know, this gloom. Kind of same thing with surprise a little bit. And, you know, neutral is, you know, I know it's blue and black, but it's a balance. There's a balance there. Anxiety, you can see it in your, you know, your chest and your stomach a little bit. And a look at love is more of a balance. You know, it's not as much of a balance as happiness, but this heart right here is bright like the light, you know, and that's great. You know, you still got that balance here. Depression, you got this blue gloom throughout the whole body. You know, same thing, content, you got the pride, where you got, you know, all in the upper ego, you know, and the rest of the body is black. Shame, you know, all this imbalance, you know, they feed off of this stuff, and they rule out of these things. They try to keep us out of happiness and love. All right, to get back to the chakras, like I was in the beginning of the video, stating how, you know, they use the lower 3 chakras. There's 2 ways that they prevent, you know, they block the energy of your chakras. One is by keeping you, once again, keeping you out of that love and keeping you in your lower 3, you know, keeping you in your root, the sacral, and the navel, you know, the whole fear, the survival, sexuality, and the power, the greed. You know, once you're in these, you can't get to the heart. So they block it from a spiritual, energetic standpoint, and then they also block it from a toxic standpoint, from vaccines to mercury. You got pesticide, aspartame, the fluoride in your water. All those toxins block your flow of energy. You know, your 7 heavens, your 7 sisters, the 7 seals, you know, all that's, you know, depicting this right here, you know, this right here, the body, the temple of God, you know, our spirit. And speaking of, you know, the spirit, you know, the temple of God, our souls, I just want to, you know, get back to what I started to in the beginning, how they have us trapped in this matrix, this this matrix net, or the planet, the plan net, you know, this scheme that they got going on, and you know, have been going on for a long time. What they do is you know, this you know, just my research and my beliefs, you know, how I feel about things. What they do is, you know, they have us living this hateful, angry, fearful life, you know, thinking that we're gonna go to hell, or that these bad guys are gonna go to hell, and you know, all this other stuff. And you know, they keep us in those lower 3 energies, and you know, we stay like that until to the time we die, or close to the time we die, and we waste all our life living in fear of either the bad guys, or you know, bad food, dying from something, or going to hell. And when we do die and we realize that, you know, we've been duped, you know, what we do is we make the decision to come back and try again, you know, to try to live life right. You know, all that anger that we had built up against somebody, you know, we would try to right our wrongs. We come back to, you know, try to help out humanity and the planet. But you know, one of the biggest problems is, you know, we don't remember when we get here. You know, we forget, you know, due to human manipulation. You know, you see that, you know, at least I you know, I know of this story, you know, even through the Bible. You know, it says how, you know, the human was manipulated. And what they do is, you know, or what they did was keep us from remembering our past lives, you know, our spirit's true memories, you know, not this stuff that's in this worthless memory card of a brain that we use, but you know, our true you know, our true memories, you know, from the soul. They prevent us from, you know, remembering that stuff, which makes it easier for them to manipulate us into, you know, all their lies on you only live once and all this stuff, and you got, you know, one chance, and how we supposed to live it the way that they tell us, you know, we supposed to live it. We try to come back with, you know, with a better purpose, or, you know, we try to come back to warn others that, hey, you know, life isn't about fear and, you know, all this other bull crap they got going on to keep us away from true love and, you know, the true energy of God. You know, people come back to try to warn us, you know, or try to help one another, try to help humanity, you know, the planet itself, you know, from us destroying it, because it's all our doing. You know, they use us as pawns to do all this stuff, you know, while they sit back and write scripts and, you know, tell us that something's going on, or pay guys to do stuff. You know, they sit back and do nothing, you know, besides write this stuff up. It's us as the people that are doing all this stuff to ourselves. You know, we are connected. We killing ourselves and the planet we own. And you know, that's just truly what I believe, you know, from my heart, that all this is going on can be stopped by us, as long as we wake up and be willing to, you know, step away from all the tradition, and, you know, not be afraid of being ridiculed for what we believe and what we stand for. You know, stop going with the social norms, you know, what's the norm, you know, to the public eye. All that stuff has been manipulated, you know, by media. You know, they create social norms. So we got to be willing to, you know, get out of this net that they got us in, for the better of humanity, for the better, you know, the planet in the whole, all the life on it. You know, not just for us and our family, but the whole picture, because everything is connected. And if we destroy this planet, it's on us, not them. So I just want to, you know, touch base with you guys, and, you know, I guess, you know, hear back from you, you know, see what you guys got to say, how you feel about things. But other than that, man, peace and love, dude.